Hey everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. This video series is about how to prepare for your trip to Southeast Asia and what to expect.
We'll cover topics such as security and safety, animals, weather, health, road safety, how to rent and use motorbike in Southeast Asia, as well as what to pack for the trip.
So let's dive in.
Let's dive in.
Tips for when you're on the go. We're used to using Uber for getting around, but that's much different in Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, you're going to find apps like Grab or Gojek, which are similar. You request a ride and then you can get to and from wherever you're planning to go. And we found that those are like super reliable, easy, can pay directly on the app. You verify who the driver is, license plate, all of that. You verify when the driver arrives, and so on. So it was like easy to get around in most of the places that we were in Southeast Asia. Along with that, other apps to make sure that you have are WhatsApp, because there are a lot of businesses that operate on WhatsApp and you communicate directly with the business there, answer any questions. I think that we were in Vietnam in Ha Long Bay and we were planning to book Ha Long Bay, and we were kind of communicating with the business directly on WhatsApp, asking questions, trying to verify like when we can get the next ship there and so on. So super reliable. Grab these apps so that you have them on your trip, and you can use them anywhere where you're moving around in Southeast Asia.
Why are those services adding a layer of verification? Because then when you're meeting a person in real life, you can literally ask, like, give me your phone number, like, that you contacted me from. And if the person does not have the phone number or like does not know it, then you know that this is not the person that you were supposed to meet, and so on and so forth. Uli mentioned already, check the license plate. You do the same thing at home, do the same thing over there. This may be very important because at some locations with intense traffic, there will be many people waiting for tourists. We have this, I think, when we got from Malang to Yogyakarta, where we get out from the train, and this is a very big city, very big train station, and outside of the train station was absolute madness. I cannot count how many different taxis were there, and it was difficult for us to find the driver, and everyone was claiming that they're our driver. So double checking, even with this pressure, it actually adds a lot of pressure. We found our car and we still double checked the license plate, and we asked the driver what his name was, and so on and so forth. This makes you safe. Otherwise we would get to a random car and they'll be like, yeah, we are your driver, and then but where do you want to go? With the application, there's no question, like all the money handling, all the destination, like no translation issues and so on. Everything is handled by the application, and basically you have kind of a traceable proof in the application who you went with, where you wanted to go, and so on. This really served us well in terms of like making us feel secure, even though there were instances where we didn't use those applications, and then kind of this verification or security layer was on us.
Use those apps. There might be others on the market today that others are using, so do your research before heading off to Southeast Asia. And along the same lines with apps, sometimes you might have connectivity issues, and something that I found really useful was downloading offline maps, specifically on Google Maps. So for instance, when we were traveling to Misen on one of the scooters that we rented, we had offline maps to make sure that if we had connectivity issues on the way, we had a map that was able to get us to Misen and back safely. The next example was hiking up to King Kong Hill near Mount Bromo. I think that we used offline maps that morning to hike up all the way to the top, and it seemed that there were routes that weren't really that we didn't really know about, but Google Maps was able to like get us there to the top so that we could see the sunrise that morning.
We already told you to share your location with your beloved ones, especially super important when you're commuting between like distant places. But on top of what Uli just mentioned about offline maps, we use them a lot to this particular purpose. For example, to check if our car is actually going in a good direction. And the two places or two situations that you're gonna hear a lot in this video are Probolinggo and the temple at the Cambodian-Thailand border. We were in a car with someone that we didn't know exactly how much we should trust or if we could trust. So as we were going, we were tracking if we're like, what would Google say about this destination and if we're going in a good direction. And we thought that this gave a little bit of security for us, or like the feeling of being safer, because we thought if the car suddenly goes in a totally different direction than where we are supposed to be going, we can react right away and like contact our beloved ones or confront the driver and so on. It didn't happen. but it gave us the sense of security. We used this option several times. It's also very discreet because you're kind of on your phone. You can pretend that you're playing a game or something, but actually you're tracking on Google Maps if the driver is taking you in a good direction. Obviously, safety tip, probably you should avoid getting into this kind of situations in the first place, but sometimes you do not have a choice. And for example, us at Mont Bromo, we felt like we didn't have a choice. We were kind of getting to safety. We did, like, at the end, the situation was less dramatic than we thought it was, but we used this to reassure ourselves that day.
Next up, have an idea of where your essentials are at all times. So as I mentioned, I had this trusty little bag with me while we were commuting. This again had everything that I needed, right? Cash, passport, IDs, anything else, keys, whatever it might have been, it went into this. And this I always wore across my chest like this. Easy. I knew where it was and it was always close to me. But beyond that, we always made sure that we had our phones charged. I also had an extra power bank that I carried in here so that, you know, we never went without a charge. There were moments where we couldn't find, you know, an outlet or a good moment to charge our phone, so that was always in here and ready to go. And, you know, make sure that, you know, I had my passport in here, other IDs, but make sure you have copies elsewhere, right? We had copies in our bigger bags. We had, you know, extra cash. You might store it in other locations, but at least you know that you have cash or your IDs, copies of your IDs in other locations in case something gets lost.
Final tip for the commute part is staying vigilant despite having fun. This is kind of tricky because you're on vacation, we were on vacation, we were excited, we were exploring, we met many people who were nice to us and like they're encouraging us or like showing us their world. But then there's a situation in which you need to kind of like, you're still a foreigner in a different country, you need to listen to the cues that are not always obvious to you because you're not from that specific place. And sometimes people, or like there will be cues or there will be hints that you should learn to read, telling you that maybe something is not good for you or something is not safe for you. And what I'm hinting at is that when we landed in Probolinggo, our train arrived, we were super excited. We really wanted to see Mont Bromo, so we were ready to go. And we've seen so many beautiful videos of the sunrise over King Kong Hill. So we were also ready to get there. But when we ordered our Gojek or Grab, and we told the driver that we are going to the bus station, and the bus station is now apparently very common knowledge that this is where the transportation scheme in Probolinggo is nested. The driver asked us several times in a very casual way, being like, are you sure you want to go to the bus station? And us, and especially me being very, very environmentally oriented, I was like, yes, of course, we're going to use public transportation to get to Mont Bromo. And after a few minutes, he was like, but you're sure that you want to go there? We didn't get it. It's only later when we remembered like the ride, being like the driver asked us. He didn't say us anything, probably for his own personal comfort or safety, but he did give us hints. And next time, like after the story, if someone is asking me twice, do I really want to go somewhere, I will definitely take the hint. And I cannot say that we regret it later, but like once we started analyzing the situation, we realized that this person wanted to help us or that this person wanted to warn us in a way, and we didn't read the room correctly. This could have prevented basically this entire situation.
By the way, for those of you who haven't seen our Prevy here or Bromo videos linked somewhere here, we're just going to quickly touch on them because we think they're related to the topic that we're covering at the moment. So for Prevy here, as some of you might know, it's a temple on the border between Thailand and Cambodia, and it's actively contested, right? There are border disputes. One country says that it belongs to them, and then the other says that it belongs to them. So when we were about to visit, it was a conflict that we looked up. We researched what was happening. We talked to people at our hotel. We also, when we were hiring the people who were going to drive us up there and give us a tour, we also asked them how the conflict was going, because I think when we visited maybe a few years back, there was active military conflict at the temple. So we wanted to make sure that if we visited, we were safe. We did our research, we talked to the hotel, we talked to the business that was going to take us up, and the providers, the ones who were driving us up there, the tour guide and so on, they informed us of who they were, and their experience in the area. And I think one of, if not our driver or tour guide, they were part of either the police or the military, so they knew the area, they were aware of the conflict, they were in contact with the folks there. So we, in a way, took a calculated risk to go visit the temple in a period where there was no active military conflict between both countries. We're not really sure what's going on right now, but I think recently there was more conflict. We did that. We talked to the person, and we were going up there with someone who knew the area and who could, keep us in a way safe as we were making our way up there.
Mont Bromo is a totally different story. We did not know what was happening. We were not aware of the situation, and we were discovering as we went, which made the situation very stressful for us and to some extent impacted our plans in Indonesia for those few days after this incident. So apparently the Probolinggo scam, it's a transportation scam, is very well known. It's one of the most documented or known scams in Indonesia. For the context, Indonesia is an extremely safe country. It's I think the safest or one of the safest places that we visited. Everyone is super friendly and so on. But as we discovered the situation as we went, we couldn't evaluate our safety and how to get us out of the situation as we went. So this is what made the situation very, very stressful. We only went through Probolinggo on our way to Mont Bromo, and obviously we did not stay in Probolinggo, so we skipped this part of the guidebook. And even in our guidebook there was a section about Probolinggo scam because it's so wide known, but we didn't read it because we didn't have anything to do, we thought, with Probolinggo. We were just passing through that city that day. And as it went, just to give you an idea of the story, I already told you about the taxi driver. We arrived at the bus station, and the situation by then is still very normal. We are asking about transportation options. They explain this to us. You need to wait until the bus is full. These are small buses because we're going to the mountains. Big buses will not pass, so good news for us. It's normal in many developing countries or like different places that you visit. Sometimes there's no schedule of the bus. You just wait until it fills. We thought, okay, maybe a little bit weird, but let's do it. But we were waiting and waiting, and no one was coming because people are already aware of this, and no one is coming to the bus station to grab the bus. We obviously didn't want to rent the entire bus, so we thought, like, okay, we're leaving this place. And this is where we found ourselves trapped. And this is where the stress and the pressure started, because no one wanted to take us out of the bus station. Like, literally, we were trapped, and every single Gojek or Grab driver that we requested canceled our ride. And we are talking about 1.5 hours of active booking a ride, standing in a full sun. At some point, I think even our application got blocked because they thought that this is like some kind of cybersecurity attack, but because we were like booking and canceling and booking and canceling. So we found ourselves without driver, without a way to get out, and with applications blocked. We obviously, as you can see in the video, once you watch it, we took the minibus and we played for the entire ride. We were panicking as we went because we realized that we were going really far away, really remote, and there's really only this one way in. And as we arrived, we saw that we started asking around, and we realized that yes, there's this transportation scheme. And we panicked so much that we decided to get ourselves out of the situation. And instead of staying in this place for 2 days and admire Mont Bromo, we evacuated the scene. This is literally how you should call it. The next day in the morning, with someone who we met at the bar, like the most ridiculous thing to do. We went to a bar, we met a guy, and he said, yes, I'm going to take you out of the situation, but I cannot go back the same path because this is what this scheme is responsible for. And if I take you through this path, they're going to be mad at me. Let's go through the national park. So this is what we did. The advantage of this was that we discovered the national park. We actually loved it and stuff, but this was not our plan. And we made this decision in a rushed way. We paid a lot of money, probably even more than we paid the scammers, but we were so terrified that we just made this ridiculous decision. And yeah, at the end of the day, actually the Probolinggo scam is a very well thought through scam. They're basically threatening local transportation providers who cannot take tourists that belong or like who are counted among the clients of the scammers. So once you are on their list, and we made it to the bus station, so we kind of made it actively to their list, you cannot get out. Like no one else will take you because they will just find them and ask for their money because they consider that you're their client. So this is in no way dangerous for the tourists themselves. But we didn't know this. So it made us make very irrational decisions, including Googling embassy websites and everything that we could find about the scam online as we were lying in bed and trying to rest before we were climbing the King Kong Hill. This is everything that happened behind the scenes, and you do not see it in our video because we were kind of too stressed to talk about it on camera back then. And at the end of the day, everything went well in this particular case, and it was unnecessarily stressful, but that's why we're sharing our experience with you, so you can learn from us and from this experience and be smarter during your trip to Southeast Asia.
And one thing that I would add is that because they thought you were their client, I think that at some point I noticed as we were leaving, I think I noticed someone who wasn't part of like where we were staying, kind of like either a guest or someone, a visitor, who was kind of like keeping an eye on us to see what we were doing as we were leaving with our bags. It looked a bit suspicious. Maybe it was a friend of the hotel staff, but you know, it was a bit odd when we were leaving. So yeah, just be aware of that one. That one piece of the journey was a little bit weird, but you know, we were sharing this so that you know.
And in short, these are a few tips that we followed for our own safety. And just so you know, we only had minor issues, and thankfully our trip was mostly, pleasant and without any troubles. But let's face it, you cannot prevent or predict every possible scenario. So preventing it or anticipating or just thinking ahead makes this entire experience easier.
And really, we hope that just by sharing these few tips, we can help you plan your trip to any of the wonderful countries that we visited in Southeast Asia. And of course, we hope that you have an amazing time. And with that, we'll see you in the next video.
Misha, why didn't you touch your mic like a normal person?
No, people are...
No.
The thing that people are doing is now they have it like this.
Bullshit.
No, really.
Okay,
This
so...
is in 2023.